something?
Oh, we'll give you a handout, so definitely use your pen.
Yeah, you're gonna need.
Better to ask forgiveness.
They got it. The school got it.
They got it. See where it's going.
They got money.
They got money.
All right. So have you started?
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Thank y'all so much for choosing to come to our breakout. We appreciate y'all coming in after lunch and after that wonderful preliminary we had. My name is Bria Brown. I'm the Development Director at United Congregations in Metro East, and I'm here with my other colleagues to discuss our leadership development pipeline that we built out at our organization, which has been like our through line integrated throughout all of our programming that we'll give a brief overview about too. We also have an interactive activity plan for you guys, so y'all can take this work home to your organizations and see if it's something that would be powerful or implemented in your work.
So, I like to stand, can't sit still. It's 80. My name is Darnell Tingle, for those who don't know me, Executive Director of United Congregations of Metro East. We were founded by a few pastors in East St. Louis, Illinois, who came together and said there are some systemic issues happening in our region that need to be addressed. From there, those pastors grew. United Congregations of Metro East, it's now a very powerful organization that is based in both St. Clair and Madison County, or as I like to call it, the other blue part of Illinois. If you are not aware of this, St. Clair and Madison County, Chicago may go blue, but if St. Clair County goes red, this state will go red. That's how important little old downstate Illinois is to y'all Chicago folks. UCM is an organization that is based on faith-based and values. We are we are an organization that is based on 3 pillars, which we'll go into later on. But we are more importantly about individuals being their own salvation. We do not believe in white saviorism. We do not believe in black saviorism. It is you pull yourself up. We give you the tools to do it yourself. That word? Yep. So our 3 pillars that we have at UCM are environmental justice, which deals with issues around environment. And when people hear that word, they think trees. When we use that word at UCM, we talk about lead in the homes. We talk about air quality. We talk about water. We talk about basic human things that individuals who live in low-income areas don't have. Same thing with transformative justice. Transformative justice is where we talk about the integrated work, the work around individuals who are incarcerated and bringing them back into full fruition. We also talk about restorative justice and what does that look like in our communities, and more importantly, holding faith leaders accountable to what you say you believe and acting on that in today's time. And then last but not least, integrated voter engagement, or IVE, as we like to call that. That is where this whole thing comes together. It is where community leaders take hold of said issues in community and go vote. They are informed. They know what's going on in their community, and they hold their politicians accountable to it and help create ordinances to make their community better. Anything on this, Bria?
So we're gonna have a quick discussion between the 3 of us on the leadership pipeline and how we've integrated that into UCM. So again, I want to reintroduce my colleagues. I'm Natalie DeLeon. I am the narrative manager. We have Bria Brown here. She is the development director. And we have Darnell Tingle, our executive director.
Can we pause real quick? Natalie. Because Natalie don't get enough love. Natalie and Christian, can you explain why you're called the narrative team versus what other people call a comms team?
Or like a marketing team.
A marketing team.
Yeah, we focus more kind of what we talked about earlier, really thinking about the language that we use, especially in this community, is very important. So it's more about the bigger story and the bigger picture than just talking about, like come to our events or just show up at this thing. It's the story's bigger than that. When we're talking about the environmental justice side of things, it's about people's lives. It's about how it's affecting them when they're drinking their water, the air that they're breathing. It's bigger than, just coming and like, look at our logo, look at our brand. Yeah, look at this press release we wrote, right? It's like everything is built within that narrative of like, hey, these people's lives are important and you should care too. And so it's the narrative team. It's not just communications. It's not just marketing. It's not just branding. It's all of it within that narrative.
Yeah, and to piggyback, it also just speaks to the intentionality that we're trying to really bring to United Congregations of Metro East. The organization has been around for 25 years, and with Darnell coming in as executive director, one of the younger executive directors, to be the leader of the organization, we wanted to be intentional about how we're really building leadership internally. Like, it's great what we do externally for our communities, but how do we really build these leaders, these workers in the nonprofit sector? So being intentional, like how we define our roles and what we call ourselves, so people can really envision what it looks like to come and join our organization internally.
Thank you for that question, Darnell. Kind of kicked us off. So our first question that I have for y'all is, how does the leadership pipeline support UCM's long-term goals around environmental justice, civic power, and economic opportunity in East St. Louis?
Yeah, I think for me, it becomes less about success and more about creating sustainability. I think too many times we have what I call parachute campaigns. Folks come in, we do this campaign, this issue, whether it's ice, whether it's an air quality issue, and they leave. The issue's gone, they're done. But what happens after that community? What happens to the community? And in UCM, what we believe this leadership pipeline will do and is doing is it not only says, yes, we won this fight, but now we're trained to say this fight will never happen again. We're building up leaders to talk about the long-term sustainability of the work that needs to be had, where people are their own advocates and not other communities.
Think about that long-term impact versus just the right now. Super important. Next question. Can you walk us through one moment in that pipeline that helped you move from participation to leadership or decision-making power?
Yeah, I think for me, it's when I came on board and there was an issue with the company. I like to move around, so excuse me about that. This is my personality. So, company called Veolia, right? Veolia is emitting this horrible gas into the community. Now, fun fact, our region is ranked the third worst region for air quality in the country. In the country. Over 80% of our youth has some type of ailment, breathing ailment wrong with them. So when you talk about, hey, why aren't kids going outside? Well, how can you go outside? We actually have stories of a grandmother who had a garden in her own backyard, planted her grandchildren, ate the fruit, and got lead in their bloodstream. Veolia was a crookedness. What we did was we went, named a lot of things, went before the EPA. Veolia wanted UCM at the table. Now, my ego was like, yeah, I'll come in, I'll represent the people. This leadership pipeline allowed us to be intentional about saying, no, we'll get community leaders in the room with Veolia themselves. We'll train them up and on what to ask, what to say, and they'll be the decision makers on what it is exactly they want from Veolia. They are the ones impacted. They live in the community. They should have a say in how it goes, not someone coming in to speak for them, not the Sierra Club, not UCM or Darnell. It's the community members themselves. And the thing that I learned about that moment with Veolia, we called it the Can You Breathe campaign. We saw that when individuals become their own, I'm gonna keep using the word savior because of my faith background. When individuals become their own savior, they are more invested. It's real. Versus individual organizations who come in and just do it for the money. It may have good intentions, but it's not real. And this leadership pipeline creates a generation of folks who will come in and be their own voice for that.
Powerful. Thank you, Nora. The next question is, how does UCM integrate? We talked about, Savior and faith background, and, we talked about our mission earlier. So how are we integrating faith, healing justice, and intergenerational relationships into this leadership development, especially in a community facing long-term disinvestment?
Yeah, we see faith leaders, we hold them to a high regard. However, we hold them accountable in saying that the church of today doesn't look like the church it was before. It is not like it was during the 60s and the civil rights movement, when the church had a heavy hand in things. We hold faith leaders accountable, saying you have to go out now into the community. They're not going to come to you, and we hold their faith to the values versus saying, this and that. We at UCM believe that values is what brings people into the forefront instead of naming it as just faith. And so we believe in that tenet.
And then to speak to like the intergenerational part and the faith leaders, what we were intentional about is like how people even get involved into the leadership pipeline, just having those different areas of access to get engaged with our programming. So one of the huger events that we had, which was like a really big pool of how we get people involved, was our Sacred Conversations, where we brought together faith leaders, police officers, and young people. We define young people as people under 35, together to have intimate conversations about what does it look like in our community, how we interact with each other, how can we better support each other, being intergenerational. What does it look like for youth to rejoin the church? What does it look like for youth to reclaim their space in the church? What does it look like for youth to interact with police, and then vice versa across all three organizations? Being able to have like raw, intimate conversations, safe conversations, and then going from that, taking those learnings, integrating them into our pipeline, where young people and faith leaders are being able to learn these skill acquisitions of like, okay, we've had this conversation, what's the next step? That political education that we provide to you, of like, this is what's happening in your community. How do you get engaged in that? Okay, what does engagement look like? This is how we will teach you how to drop cards. This is how we will teach you how to call your senator, call your offices, or if you want to get involved internally, we have different cohorts on the development team or the communications team. This is how you become an ambassador for the work, being able to like be a speaker, join podcasts that advocate for what we are doing in our community, along with the grant writing skills, just that skill acquisition. But the biggest thing for intergenerational is like those touch points, being able to have those open spaces for multiple people from different walks to come in.
Yeah, it really builds that power throughout the entire community and intergenerationally as well. And how does UCM intentionally connect leadership development to real pathways like workforce placement, organizing roles, or paid opportunities?
We're proud to be community navigators, so that is one of the major ways that we connect people who come into our audience into workforce development. So we have people that go through the Navigators program officially, and it kind of intertwines with our leadership development. We do a little bit more political education than what's required from the Navigators program, along with like the internal things like we mentioned, the communication building, resume building. We also do expungement work. So if someone comes into our pipeline, we support them in getting access to all their legal fees being paid for, and then all the needs that they need to be met to get their records expunged. So making sure we see people holistically is how our pipeline really flourishes. So even thinking about childcare, we know that's a barrier. Looking at grocery access being a barrier. So making sure that our people are met. And there'll be a slide deck where we talk about like how the different areas in the pipeline, and being able to analyze like what is the need of your community, so you can make it successful for them to complete their tasks to get through this pipeline and build that skill acquisition. Go ahead.
Alrighty. So it's not perfect, right? We're working, it's a work in progress.
Yes.
So what is one mistake or hard lesson UCM has learned while building the pipeline that other organizations should be very mindful of?
Building too fast.
Okay.
We tried to get as many people as we could to be engaged. We didn't have the capacity to get all of them properly trained, and it was not our best first cohort of folks. So once again, for me, it's built too fast. And if we're honest, if I'm being honest, we didn't think, we thought too small. We limited people to what we thought they could do. And so, if I could do it all over again, I would say build slow and dream big.
Well, let's go ahead and dive into the leadership development pipeline and what that looks like.
Yes. So this is the slide I was talking about, which is our 4 different areas that our pipeline breaks down. On a granular scale, we have hours associated. So say someone to go through the pipeline, they have to complete 6 hours of communications training, these 20 hours of political education. But for the sake of this presentation, these are the broad overarching pillars in which the work falls into. So we start with reflecting on whose voices and experiences are we starting with, going back to what is the need that needs to be met to make this successful, and how do we measure success for that individual who's coming into the pipeline, because my pathway will look different from Natalie's pathway, and we really want to make sure that they are getting into work that is aligned with their self-interest. Restore, so practices that support with healing. Some people that come into the pipeline, mediation has to be held with them, whether that's somebody externally or internally, to even get them engaged with the work fully encompassed. And how do we have those type of restorative practices within organizations? How do we extend grace? How do we hold accountability? Is where restore comes in. How do we restore that piece? That expungement work falls under that, meeting that need. Realigning. So we know that we saw our pillars. We do EJ, we do transformative justice, we do integrated. But say we have someone who comes in who's in a repro space, building out those partners and making sure that whatever skills, political education that we are pouring into them is going to be applicable, and we're building them up for the organization in which they want to work. Y'all gonna hear me talk about internal capacity building a lot, because that's my bread and butter in nonprofits, and I love working at a nonprofit, and encourage everyone to find a movement that they love and really put their time there. So how do we take that for people in communities? Because I grew up in a community where people didn't even know this was a job. Still, some of my friends to this day who are doctors don't understand I get paid to do this, to fight for our people. So how, being that vision for them of this, you can do this work. If you're committed to the change, if you want the change in your community, this is what it looks like to build a role. My role didn't exist at UCM when I came 3 years ago. Neither did Natalie's, neither did Christian. So what does it look like to build it out? Because we're strengthening the organization. So that type of career trajectory. And then what practices help us translate collaboration into next steps. So really just making sure they leave our pipeline with a plan. Whether that's staying within the UCM atmosphere, joining our cohorts, becoming ambassadors, or getting full-time roles. Product of the pipeline, I'm one of the young people at UCM who's been here, helped build it out in the ugly days, and now in our okay days, it can still be better. But how do we make sure it's sustainable? How are we tracking growth even after they completed this cycle? So what my team members handed out, y'all also have all of this breakdown on the back end, but what we've handed you all and want to spend time or give you all time today is what would this look like for your organization? For us, we put out measurable goals, like I said, having X amount of hours in political education, having X amount of hours in resume building, hours in how to host a one-on-one, how to host an interview, how to talk to congregation members. So thinking about your work and applying it to there, we really encourage y'all or want to spend time with you all today on filling out this form to see what does a pipeline look like to build in people that are in your organizations. Even if it's just one person and you see the trajectory or have an idea of the trajectory that they can take to become a leader within their community or within your organization, we want you all to do that now.
And the questions too, they can.
Oh yes, and y'all can, we have the questions as guiding, And then you have access to all four of us. We're here to talk to you all about it. All of us have our work intertwines with the leadership pipeline. Like I said, it's in all of our programs and something we are very proud of and work diligently on, and still are working on. Me and Darnell can attest. It's a growing process, and there's always tweaks that can happen because everybody who comes in is different, and we get a different result or something that we feel like we would have to add or change or alter for the pipeline to make it a little bit more holistic each time. So you have us to answer questions. So we want to how much time we have, but maybe the same.
So I've got a
Yes.
clarifying question for myself to kind of help break some assumptions and paradigms I might be holding about what this pipeline is or isn't, right? So the first part of that, and I'm thinking of this as, a process, right? So you've got a talent pool, whoever that is. I need some clarification of where you define that talent pool. And you've got a pipeline that is leading somewhere. And my presumption is that somewhere is either A, into UCM in some kind of capacity, or B, out into a broader set of community-based organizations or other entities.
Correct.
And then in your pipeline, I'm trying to, so that's the A and two endpoints. That middle piece, I'm trying real hard not to think of it as clients in program, or in program. So help me understand a better way to think about this work that you're defining as either community building or leadership development.
Okay, I love that question. Great question. So, the talent pool is the community.
All right.
We started with our churches or congregations. Hey, if you have anyone who's interested in being in the program, it's $1,200 a month for 10 to 15 hours a week. The training is a basic general political education. That's the basic general political education. And then it's finding your self-interest. So if you're interested in comms work, if you're interested in organizing, whatever your self-interest in, there's something there we have that helps you build on that. And the end result could be at UCM, but for us, the end result is you are now a more equipped individual for the community to do whatever it is you need to do. Whether it's go off and be in working in city government or whatever, you are now more politically educated. You have a certain skill set that you're offering to community. You are now someone who brings more value for a community. That to me is that leadership pipeline that I'm referring to. So it's no longer folks coming in from outside the community who say, hey, you guys should do an ordinance bill.
Okay.
We now, if you go through that leadership pipeline, you already know about ordinances. You already know about the city council. You know it's a city manager based system versus a mayor strong system. You know all those little things that otherwise, if you hadn't gone through the program, you wouldn't have known. And you just are a more productive, knowledgeable individual for the community. That's how that.
Yeah, like the in-between
So
part
I'm
about
responding
choice.
to your earlier remark about let people be their own savior. So you, in a way, you are empowering personal capacity. for
I struggle with that word empower.
Huh?
I struggle with the word
All
empower.
right. But you,
That word empower means it has a white
I got
connotation.
you.
So I hate that word
All right,
empower.
so we'll strike that. But
Yeah.
I get your point. But you're building personal capacity,
Yes.
right? You're
Yes.
not giving.
No.
You're building personal capacity for folks, whatever their desired route of endeavor or pursuit,
Mm-hmm.
they're better equipped to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. A better informed constituency is so much better than just one or two individuals coming in playing savior and letting and the community is following blind. That's what we're trying not to have. We're trying to have a more informed community, engaged in the work, building the community that they want, versus someone coming in and telling them this is what you need.
Gotcha. All right.
You want to? You sure?
Yeah. My only point was like the helpful part of what makes it separate from just like programming is that they have choice. Like you said, just finding that self-interest. If you come in and be like, I only care about EJ and I'm EJ organizing, great. Like we have a funnel for that. So it's like step one, you come in, great, you're engaged. Like you said, general political education. Through that political education, you're like for me, I used to be boots on the ground. I used to be at the rallies every time. I was at marches, organizing marches every time as an organizer. But realizing now, as I matured and got deeper into the work, that my strengths are behind the scenes, and just filling out where your strengths are as an organizer, and then changing that narrative. People don't want to consider grant writers as like organizers, but we are. Like we're right here in the movement, deeply in the movement, and have to understand that work. So just figuring out what type of organizer you want to be, what's your skill set. Because I mean, everybody's not going to speak as eloquent as Darnell. Get the people hype, right? And everybody's not going to raise money.
Yeah.
So,
Let's keep it a buck. Before Ray got here, UCM was a little under $500,000. We are now almost a $2 million org because of Ray. So shout out to Ray.
When did you start this leadership development pipeline?
So the very day one that we said it at the organization
Yeah.
was
How long?
3 years ago.
3 years.
3 years ago, we named that there needs to be a funnel, something. And we have been building on it ever since. And this, I would want to say this past year and a half, it's finally become sturdy. And a lot of that with support becoming community navigators, because it's already like, one, funding, right? Like it takes money to pay people to be here, to do this work, to
And
reduce
people
those
should be
barriers.
paid. Let's be clear.
Yes, they need to be paid to do this type of organizing work, and you need money to erase barriers. So that was a part of it. So we're just now seeing like the fruits and seeing people like have jobs and grow over this past year and a half. So I think for me, I'm thinking in the next 2 years we'll see the success stories on the outside once people leave us. But right now we have everybody's in our pipeline is still here, and still home at UCM.
So you were saying that it's going to take some time.
It's 100% going to take time.
Building the foundation.
That's what long-term sustainability is.
Yeah.
It's not a quick fix. It's not. Project, whatever it's called. They had that plan, iterations of it, all the way back into the 70s.
And it's going to change, because we thought like they just need political education on East St. Louis, and it's like, nope, we need to start at 1619 and work all the way up. And that's something that you just don't know until you get out there and try it, and then you see who's coming into the community, who needs the support, and how you adjust as an organization to support them.
Oh, can I have a question? You think it's hard to make your program, or it's kind of easy?
Hard to make this?
Uh-huh.
This is very hard, yeah.
No, everything, like your social thing, everything.
You said the socials?
No, like the program.
The environmental justice and like yeah, all of the programs are hard. The EJ work, I want to say
That was there before.
it would, yeah, we inherited some of the EJ work because like we said, the organization's been around for 25 years. But it's always, I mean, this is hard work. The movement is hard work, and this kind of just triggers like that meeting people holistically, because we're all people, we're parents, and this work can be tiring. It's easy to be burnt out. So having this helps you build capacity, so it doesn't feel like it's all on like Darnell, it's all on me. Because there was a point where me and Darnell were burning the candle, at both ends because it was just us. So being able to like build that capacity makes it a little bit less hard. Because now, I'm sure there's an Instagram post up. I don't know, but I know there's one because I trust my team, right? I know, even though we're here, program probably had their staff meeting today and kept it trucking because that capacity building has happened, right? Being able to trust leaders because we train the leaders, so.
And how do you actually like raise the budget to be able to start promoting that? It seems like that's a lot of, you said that they have to get paid. It's not just about.
We have a very intense grant writing strategy, yeah, fundraising strategy.
Is it mostly from the brand, or is it a fundraising or a donation?
Numbers wise, majority of our programs are grant funded, but we do have a individual fundraising strategy where we have a sustainer group, so people who give reoccurringly, whether that's annually or on a month-to-month basis. So like think about your most loyal donors who are like smaller dollar, obviously a major gifts program, and we also have memberships with our congregations. So congregations have a form of buy-in to be a part of our membership.
Where do you guys get your material to sort of do the development leadership? Is it sort of just a hands-on role with you guys to sort of like grow, or is it sort of something that you guys have set material, training, and stuff like that?
It's a mix. So communications work we do internally because we have the experts on staff. Political education, we also that one's kind of mixed. We take trainings from other organizations to come in. We'll hire consultants, to come in to do some trainings. Like we had a tension within our organization where we had to bring in someone to talk about race sensitivity and what does it look like to be in the movement, working with just working with white people. Like what does it look like to do that alongside as allies, and then being able to like see us and see how we navigate in our culture and how we want to be talked to as staff members, right? So relying like on experts, but it's a mix. Like we build out our own trainings, like development. We build out a culture of philanthropy. If we have the experts that are full time, if we don't, we find the experts and bring them in, which goes back to find the money so you can pay the expert. These are great questions.
Do you have any alumni engagement strategies yet for like the folks that you train up and they launch?
That's a dream.
Yeah.
Still building.
I mean, that dream
So
is
we have them right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, my goal is hopefully as we are doing our C4 side, it's different, I'm just saying that, we would like our individuals to run for public office.
Yeah.
So build our own group of folks, maybe not party affiliated, who will win, who already know the issues. Local politics is a lot easier to get into than anything else. And so building that base out and whatnot, we already got the local training, they be our champions. That's a goal by 2030 for me personally, to have said that we have championed 2 or 3 folks who are in some type of public official office.
Can you speak a little bit about your congregational support and how you maintain that?
Yeah, so because this organization was founded by congregations, it's a lot easier. And it has a name brand already, thanks to Natalie. Our brand is expanded. But we meet with pastors and hear their self-interest. Some it's development, housing development. A lot of them is housing development. Like their members are older and they want to live close to home. For others, it's environmental. And then for others, it's transformative justice, like the Safety Act, things like that. So we engage our pastors in that, surrounding their self-interest. And if I'm being honest, we need to do a lot better at it because, like I said, the church is not what it used to be. And we've got to get the church tension and struggle a little bit. And it's kind of hard when the congregation no longer lives in the community in which the building is in. And so we're working